Hey guys, Eric here with Terri and Joshua to talk all about Daredevil Season 2. We are going to go into full spoilers. This is for people who have seen all 13 episodes or don't care.
We know there are some of you.
Yeah. So if you are still listening to this, you're one of those sides of it. So, all right, let's go into it. Let's just start out, with the question, what did you think of the season overall? And did you think it was better than the first season?
I think am the most on this end of the spectrum of the three of us. I was not super crazy about this season. I do not think it was better than season 1. I thought there was a lot going on, and it was probably too much. But we can get more into that. How about you, Eric?
I did think it was better than season 1. And I don't want to say hugely different, but as looking at it as a sequel, I thought it did the thing that you want of a sequel, which is deliver more of what you love, but raise it a little bit, up the ante. And I loved the new characters. We'll get into them more. And I thought it did a really good job of juggling the ensemble of characters. I do have some quibbles that are kind of similar to my quibbles with season 1 about the end of it. But overall, yeah, I thought on a great show was even better this year. It's elevated. Joshua.
I'm a bit in the middle of you two guys in that I thought it was decent, but not bad in any way. It was not as great, not at the high level that season 1 was. I was not a fan of the Punisher as much as I thought I would be, but I loved Elektra, who I wasn't really sure what to expect from, so it was a nice surprise for me. Overall, it wasn't as cohesive and didn't have the same energy, and it wasn't as sharp as the first season. So I was a little let down, but it was still a decent, really cool season of Daredevil.
So let's talk about Punisher and Elektra more, because this was obviously the huge introductions.
I loved Elektra.
You loved Elektra?
I will say, yeah, I really, really liked Elektra.
I loved Elektra. I also love Punisher, but I guess
we all agree.
we all agree that we love Elektra, so that's cool. Talk about Elektra.
Well, I will say my first introduction to Elodie Young, the actress, was actually Gods of Egypt, which is not a good movie, but she was the best part of it, and that got me really excited to see what she would do. I thought she had a great energy, and her chemistry with Daredevil and Matt Murdock was great. It was nice to have a character in season 1, we very much saw the two sides of him, and we saw that a lot in this season as well, but it was nice both for him and for us to have someone who knew the both sides of him and was able to interact with them. I really liked her flashbacks and her origin story. I felt like I had a good understanding of her motivations and her purpose, though I did think that they sort of toed around with is she a villain or isn't she? And there were a lot of crazy people on this season. She and Punisher were both just crazy.
She had one of the craziest moments of when she killed that hand ninja, and then it's just covered in blood, and she's like, "Do you still want me, Matthew?"
Yeah.
Right. But it was this almost iconic moment for her of just this is that character, and that is her struggle, covered in blood. So great, and she was just so unexpected. It was delightful every time she was on screen to just provide this sort of cat and mouse thing for Daredevil. And she was more there, I think, for the Daredevil in Matthew Murdock. And I think by the end of the season, he had decided to he's like, I want to do Daredevil full time. I think she was a big part of that.
Yeah.
Is that she was enabling him to do that, because she's there's no, Elektra doesn't have a secret identity. She's not hiding anything. She is Elektra through and through. And I thought they got that so right.
Yeah, she had to have this obvious, sort of sexy, alluring, and yet dangerous energy. Not just dangerous because she can harm you, but that there's something a little off about her, which I think the flashback showed really well when they met in college. The fact that she was, I would talk about this in another video, but the fact that she's basically seemed sexually aroused by the fact that Matt was going to kill that guy in front of her, which was all, a lot of that was from Man Without Fear and a lot of the comics. I thought they got that so well.
The red sports car.
And just the fact that there would be something that would draw Matt to her through all this. I love that character too.
And obviously they had some awesome fight scenes. But one of my favorite moments was after their big fight when they were both just sitting on the couch in PJs and stuff. And it was just this really intimate moment for both of them. And I liked, it was a quieter moment, but I thought it really showed their connection together and did a good job of making me care about these characters when there was so much else going on.
While he is, I believe, sewing her upper neck.
Yes. Yes. Very romantic.
As one does.
He has some nice abs, I'm just saying.
The abs are better than ever. The Marvel ab program is just so impressive. Let's talk about Punisher more, though, because, let's face it, that was even bigger deal for fans as far as a huge deal in the comic books. There's so much excitement about it. Now, you were not that happy with the Punisher.
Yeah, here's the thing. I really like John Bernthal in this role because he sort of plays always either like kind of anti-hero-ish, kind of villainous
Yeah.
guys. Like kind of plays like unsavory characters and everything, like Walking Dead. So I was really stoked to see him as the Punisher, because the Punisher shouldn't be your classic hero type. And I was just let down, not by his performance, because I thought he was delivering everything really well, but I thought the writing was letting him down. Like that whole episode where he had Daredevil chained up to the roof. I thought that, I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And I kept waiting for kind of like a moment, or him to take like this big stance, or just really something to really sell me on the Punisher, and I never got that.
See, that I'm surprised by, just because, I loved that stuff. Like, I loved the interaction between them, and showing, that the Punisher, while I don't think they were saying, like, isn't he a great hero, just sort of showing the damaged guy he was and where he was coming from, which I think later in the season they would actually portray in a darker way. But I don't know, I love Bernthal too, but I did think they sort of nailed that character and sort of the broken man he was. That's what I really liked about him, and I did love that interaction between him and Daredevil, both in episode 3 and episode 4, right before he's arrested. I think they have another great conversation there that I thought got to the core of the character. But
episode 4 was in the graveyard.
Yes.
Yeah, that was, again, one of like the better scenes this season. So I, unlike the both of you, and I'll be upfront about it, I don't really know much about the Punisher. I didn't read the comics, really only saw the movie, and that was about the extent of my knowledge, and then obviously has a very iconic
which movie?
look.
There's so many
the
movies.
first.
The Dolph Lundgren or
no,
the Thomas
the Thomas
Jane?
Jane.
Okay,
Thomas Jane. 2004, whatever it was.
it is,
Whatever
yeah.
it was. No, later. Anyway, so I knew that everyone was really excited, and I was waiting to get it. And I think that what's interesting about these Marvel Netflix shows is they have more than 2 hours. They can really get to the core of a character. They can show the complexities. But I mean, Frank Castle is just crazy. And like I saw the first 2 episodes a while ago because we got early screeners of them, and I just like was not sold on his introduction. Like those 2 felt like middle episodes of a season to me, and I was just like sort of waiting to care, and it wasn't really until the end, like I just watched the last episode today, and I was like, okay, I finally care about Frank Castle now. But I was like, this person is crazy, he needs to be institutionalized, is how I felt for most of this season.
That was what they were attempting to do with that show.
I know, and I get that the question of this season is what makes a hero. I wasn't convinced that he was a hero by the end, which, I mean, he's not. He walked that line in the comics as well, as far as I can tell. I thought it was a really interesting character, but it wasn't really anyone that I'd care to follow on his own season, which I know I'm super in the minority about.
See, what I thought they did was they used Karen sort of as that avatar of the audience, or sort of to also for their narrative, because Karen starts out kind of siding with him. She and Matt have their first sort of big fight over her kind of seeing where Frank's coming from. But then that, I think, changes when she's in the diner and she's kind of there and viscerally experiences him killing those people, to the point that she tries to stop him from killing Clancy Brown's character, Shoenoser, I don't remember his name, the blacksmith. So she tries to stop him at that point. So I do think it was supposed to be sort of her changing her perception on, maybe what he's, even though she can see where he's coming from, trying to stop him from doing the things he's doing. And it's a tricky thing with that character, of course, because on one hand, I don't think they ever wanted to endorse, like, isn't he awesome? But the audience thinks he's awesome.
No, exactly. And I think that was part of the problem. Like, I didn't
spin-off.
come in with those pre-existing sentiments.
Right.
I do think like his prison fight scene was awesome. That I think was up there with the stairway fight scene. No, yeah, you know what I mean. And I also did really like in the middle of the season when there was like the courtroom stuff. I've been watching The People vs. O.J. Simpson, and I liked that it was like The People versus Frank Castle. Like, was a really interesting pause and something a little bit different to balance off all the action-heavy Daredevil side of it. And I thought those were probably some of my favorite Frank Castle moments. But it drove me crazy that, like, his actions and decisions in the prison. I think that was maybe a part. I don't know if you agree that the writing did fail him, because I was like, these are stupid. Like, maybe he's backed into a corner, but I just felt like he was making stupid decisions, and everything that happened there was like really obvious to me, the way that played out.
It's like, I got betrayed by the Kingpin.
Oh, no,
I didn't
like,
know this coming.
But he solved that problem.
Yeah, he solved it, but I was like rolling my eyes at it a little bit.
Let me ask you, Joshua, about, because you mentioned sort of the courtroom stuff. I know I was very happy that we got a trial on this season, because I think season 1 kind of didn't do right by Nelson and Murdoch. Like, they're lawyers, but we never really saw them lawyering. So I was really glad that we got that. Obviously, by making it the trial of the Punisher, it makes it front and center as part of the season. So I was really happy to get that element and to see, I think, Foggy's perspective about how freaking annoying it would be to have Matt Murdock as your partner when he's not there all the time.
It was interesting because I thought if Matt was there, I think Matt would have won it. It would have been sort of like, of course he's going to win. He's Daredevil. He's going to come up with the right testimony, and he's going to get things on their side. So it was very interesting that he wasn't there and forced Foggy to step up, which was a great arc moment for him because he really did give a great opening statement. And it looked like he was actually going to win the trial. So I thought that was great for Foggy. As far as the actual trial itself goes, I was actually let down that Punisher just threw it all away. And because I wanted them to sort of dig in more to the idea of him being a vigilante who kills, versus Daredevil who just beats guys up and sends them to prison so they can get out later. I wanted to really have that argument, and I never really got it.
Yeah, so, I think that was something maybe they just wanted to inspire it in the audience, but I agree that was something that they kept talking about and sort of hinting at in the lead up to the show, and I never felt like I really got it. I feel like they could have used that courtroom setting longer than they actually did. Obviously, they had a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, I guess I was okay with the trial's length, but I do think we'll talk more about the ending. I do wish the ending had kind of had a little bit more of a bookmark or a statement with Daredevil, because we know he's against killing, obviously, yet both Punisher and Elektra disagree with that. And even at the end, having a Punisher sort of show up and kill a few of those guys, it's not obviously what Daredevil would really want,
Yeah, so. He's like, thanks, man, for killing people and breaking my code.
Right.
It's like, wait, suddenly, it seemed at weird times Daredevil was okay with it. And actually, Daredevil seemed to be wrong, just flat out wrong a lot of the times. Where they're fighting these undead, hand ninjas who are, kicking their butts, and him and Elektra. And he's like, wait, Elektra, don't kill him. And Elektra almost gets killed. He almost got Elektra killed because he's trying to enforce his code on her. So it was do you think he was wrong in that scenario? I think he was. I think when you have undead ninjas that have already died, it's okay.
But I guess I would argue that, I guess the point being that she could have, because he was knocking out those undead ninjas, so she could have done the same, that, she was obviously going for a killing blow versus what he was doing. And since he is a hero who doesn't kill. But I do think, I think at the end there still should have been more of a sort of definitive statement about all that. I do want to go back, though, to Punisher in prison, because I do want to talk about when Kingpin showed up again, which was a really great surprise. I loved the end of that episode. And then I loved the whole storyline of seeing him again. I was psyched. I thought it was really cool to see sort of this mini arc, kind of catch up with him, see that, he's trying to kind of keep a low profile. That doesn't last very long. Gets inspiration for the name Kingpin. I love that he kind of rolled with the punches of, my plan to get Frank killed too didn't work, so now I'm going to use him. But I know there's some differing opinions out there.
I actually really liked it when Kingpin showed up. It was really awesome. And it actually fixed a problem I was having with the season, is that there wasn't a really strong villainous character. The Hand was a villain, and Nobu, but I didn't care about, I was actually confused that when Nobu came back, I was like, yeah, but Daredevil already beat him once, so I don't feel threatened by him. And then the Hand, there was just a bunch of disposable ninjas for them to beat up in cool fight scenes.
Yeah, they were just waiting until the very last
So
scene.
when Kingpin came back, I was like, oh yeah, it is on. And I loved that when Matt came to visit him, and then he was slamming his head against the table like a basketball, and then Matt got in a hook, but he's like, oh shoot, he doesn't know I'm Daredevil.
Then he has to back off.
I have to calm it down. The son of a boxer. That was great. That was amazing. I thought his interaction with the Punisher was a little weird, especially how it was so convenient that the one guy who's running the prison happens to be on the Punisher's bad list and is intimately involved in the death of the Punisher's family. So he could just stick the Punisher on that guy and conveniently get control of the prison. I thought that was a little too obvious or something like that.
Very neat.
Yeah, it was a little too neat. But what are you gonna do?
What do you think, Terry, of the Kingpin prison stuff?
Kingpin made season 1 for me.
Yeah.
That was the storyline that I was most invested in, most involved in. I thought that between Kingpin and Matt Murdock / Daredevil in season 1, it was the Kingpin show for me. So I was a little bit nervous coming into season 2 because it didn't seem like there was going to be a clear villain. There wasn't really. There wasn't a big threat. There were a couple medium-sized threats. And so when we saw Kingpin was the one who got to Frank Castle, that was I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I agree. The confrontation with him and Matt was really cool at the end. Everything in between, I wasn't crazy about. Maybe it was just that it went from 1 full season to 2 episodes.
Yeah.
his actions felt like a little bit cartoony to me. I just felt like all that like bombasticness in the prison setting just didn't work for me. And I think part of it, like you hit the nail on the head, it was all very easy and like, you know, the trail of breadcrumbs that he had to follow. It didn't make any sense to me that Frank wasn't smarter than just going along with this plan. Like I thought that was actually a little bit weak to me, and it bummed me out because I was so into Kingpin in season 1. But I think, you know, it is obvious setup for season 3, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's inevitable that the rise of the Kingpin happens again, and he'll be on his like best bad good behavior that he has going on. In
Rise for set up for season 3, and probably for the Punisher spinoff. They're denying that's probably really happening.
Right.
Let's talk more about the ending, because you know you brought up the Nobu and the hand. We've been talking a little bit about, and I do want to say, you know, because as someone who really dug this season, my biggest complaints are about the end of it, which is kind of similar to both Daredevil and Jessica Jones. All 3 of these seasons now haven't quite, I felt, have been as strong at the end as they were along the way. Not to say there weren't good things about the ending. But yeah, I agree that by the time they're facing Nobu and the hand on that rooftop, great action, but you have no real investment in Nobu as a character. Like there's no
blacksmith stuff too.
Well, yeah, the blacksmith stuff, and I want to mention that as well, because the Punisher, I loved the Punisher. I was like 100% on board for the Punisher the whole season until the last 2 episodes.
Which is when I got
Which is when you got on board, yeah. Because I did think, and I don't want to go too in depth in this because I have a whole other video talking about it, but yeah, I just thought the reveal of Clancy Brown as the blacksmith was so simple and easy as far as like, oh, that famous guy who showed up for one scene, rather than really give us anyone we cared about. And that was actually a bigger convenience. I think I let it go that the guy, the kingpin of the prison, was connected to his family's death. But then you have to go for the convenience of the fact that wasn't it supposed to basically be Frank and his family happened to be in the park when this drug deal went down, organized by his old superior officer, from the war? So it just made it all, it was making things too close, It was connecting the dots, I thought.
And of course, and I was thinking the whole time too, I was like, okay, like who's the blacksmith gonna be? It's obviously gonna be someone we met before. And then by the time Clancy Brown showed back up, I was like, okay, yes, of course, it's like this one character who like sort of made an impact, like
played by a recognizable actor.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but it just really lacked the impact. And the same thing with the hand. Like I thought what was really interesting for me is that they were trying to incorporate this more like, mystical stuff into a show that is so street level hero grounded, like The Wire, everything is real. And meanwhile, trying to balance it off like with the very real Frank Castle storyline that's not mystical at all, and the courtroom and all that stuff. And that balance didn't quite work for me because I think they were still sort of not leaning into the mystical element. They're just like, oh, this is a thing that like, just like maybe it's, real, like people are trying to deal with it like they might in our world, but because of that, I think it missed what would have been really cool about it to me.
Yeah, I think maybe they should have, because they're still dipping their toes into the like bigger comic booky elements as they get towards Defenders and Iron Fist. But maybe they should have gone even further, maybe even explicitly mentioning the Avengers or something that would kind of be like, yes, it's a little more already into this crazy world.
I feel like the thing we have to talk about is Black Sky, right?
Yeah.
There's this big mystery of like, what is a black spot? At first it sounded like a bomb or something.
Right.
But then it turns out it's Elektra, which is like a twist I wasn't expecting actually. And there was a Black Sky in season 1. Remember, there was like a little boy and it killed him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we have Elektra is a Black Sky in season 2, and you don't like. It's not really good for her chances surviving, but she doesn't. So it was really weird to me to try and wrap my mind around what does it mean to be a Black Sky? Are we supposed to understand the answer to that, or is it still supposed to be a mystery?
I think it's supposed to be a mystery, although I think it's not enough there to make us as curious as we're supposed to be, right? I did think that storyline did right by Elektra as a character. I liked the juxtaposition of it because they pretty much, I think, intercut the scenes of like Karen begging Frank not to kill the blacksmith while the hand is trying to lure Elektra to the dark side. And Frank makes the dark decision and kills him, but Elektra doesn't, right? She helps rescue Stick. She gets out of there. I thought that was well done, and I did like I liked Elektra's arc and the fact that she's like fighting alongside Matt there at the end, kind of knowingly going to her death, because they talk about what if we could run away, but they both kind of think they're going to die. So I thought her character they did right by, but all that sort of Black Sky, what is it? It's kind of all ethereal.
Yeah, I thought it meant like, so she's going to be the new leader of the hand. So I was like, why did she command the ninjas to like, hey guys, take a knee? me, let us get out of here, do what I say. But it's like, she's some sort of like figurehead that they think if she's just in their possession, that they will be all powerful, and that will embolden them and allow them to like come out of the shadows and like start killing people and taking over the world.
I got the sense like just the way that they entombed her and everything they were doing is set up. Like the second they said she's Black Sky, I'm like, okay, she's gonna die and she's gonna get revived. Like I thought that was like pretty obvious setup with all that.
Established they could resurrect people.
So I'm like, okay, like clearly these other people have been resurrected. There has been a change. Something's gone on with him. I feel like it's going to be like a metamorphosis for her. Like she's going to come out of that different, and that could be an like we'll see if any of the conversations and internal conflict she's had about being a good guy or a bad guy this season has any impact on this next evolution for her. But I think like the fact that we're like a bit confused about that, and we thought the end of Frank Castle's storyline was a little bit rushed or whatever.
Yeah.
I honestly wish they each could have gotten their own season.
I actually felt like they could have both been in the same season, but I actually think maybe Frank's story should have ended more definitively before those last couple episodes, because I felt by the end, like him showing up and shooting those guys, felt like them being like, I guess we have to have Punisher show up here too, you know?
I thought it was such a missed opportunity because they didn't have Punisher and Elektra ever meet.
Yeah.
Or say anything to each other. I think they would have liked each other. Both killers.
Later, Defenders.
Yeah,
come on.
okay, you're right.
I will have to say what I did really love about this season, and I think it did right by Karen Page. I think she had the best arc out of every character. I think like poor Foggy, like again, sort of got pushed to the side.
I liked Foggy too.
He had some stuff, but I just thought like Karen had like such a strong through line. Like they knew exactly what they wanted to do with their character, and they executed it well. And I think I didn't feel the same way about some of the other characters. I feel like Frank Castle for me was not a very well executed character. I'm really happy about everything that this season brings into the MCU and the Netflix Marvel shows. And I think when I look back on it, there are going to be moments, the action scenes and stuff like that, that really excited me. But yeah, I think, you know, of all the characters, she was the one who had the best arc.
Yeah, I really was happy. I was happy with both Karen and Foggy. I thought that they both, and I liked that they kind of all went their own ways at the end.
And Foggy ends up with Hogarth.
Yeah.
Except for her getting a journalism job and her own office, so with no journalism school.
You know, life is shiny and perfect for Karen Page. She just can't get with the guy that she wants.
Except for her history.
Yeah.
Let's her mysterious history. Lastly, we can all agree though, you mentioned in passing, but that stairway fight, come on.
Awesome.
It's freaking awesome.
That was cool.
Awesome.
I thought it was really cool, but I kept thinking.
So dismissive.
But I kept thinking, I was like, they're trying to outdo the hallway fight in season 1.
Yeah, but that's what we want them to do.
It wasn't quite. I feel like he was using Daredevil mode. And he's in the suit now, and he's a little more like trained up. That he was a little too good. And none of the ninjas really seemed like they were that threatening.
Those were bikers.
Oh, those were bikers. I'm sorry. I was thinking of later on. But even, so he seemed like too good, right? And I didn't, in the other, like a hallway fight, he was like exhausted. He would like fall against the wall and then dive back into it, right? And this, he was just.
See the abs, dude?
No, he had the suit on.
No, the damn suit.
It was too like easy for him, and it didn't feel like he was trying. He was just being like awesome Daredevil, which is cool. Like it was awesome,
cool he is.
And it was. I've never seen a fight scene like that ever, and you know I doubt I ever will until season 3 maybe. Until it's on an escalator. But yeah, I was just a little. You know, I was like, this is cool action, but it didn't have as much like character behind it.
Well, as someone who really, really loved that sequence, I'm going to argue with Joshua more after this. But let us know what you thought of Daredevil Season 2 in the comments. You're on my side, right? Now you can be on anyone's side. And check out Matt Fowler's reviews of all 13 episodes and the full season review on IGN.com. And for plenty more on Daredevil and Netflix and the MCU, keep it here at IGN.